Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Strategy for Small Business Introduction webinar, proudly brought to you by the Department of Tourism, Major Events, Small Business and the Commonwealth Games. My name's Adam Penberthy, and I'll be facilitating this afternoon's webinar. I have had a fair bit of experience and exposure to the digital sector here in Australia, and particularly here in Queensland, for over the last 7 to 10 years. As such, about 60% of our business is now working with the small to medium-sized business sector, helping them undertake the digital transformation journey. Most of the business that we operate now is probably about 70 to 80% of our business is digital related, one way or another, either across the advertising space or mobile app development or in a startup capacity, that kind of sector as such. So today, guys, we'll be covering off a whole heap of different things, but this is obviously the introductory webinar. Next week we'll be having a more intermediate session. Today we'll be covering off what is a digital strategy, and there's so much confusion. When you ask, three people, you'll get three different opinions and answers as to what a digital strategy is. More often than not, there's a lot of confusion around a web strategy or a social media strategy or a digital strategy. Sometimes the confusion is between a digital strategy being a social media strategy, that type of scenario. So we'll kind of understand and recognize what a digital strategy actually is. And then the second point there, we'll look at the various components that make up a digital strategy. So the digital strategy is pulled together by a whole heap of integrated elements, if you like, that feed back off the business plan, and we'll talk about that today. And then that final point there, we'll see how the digital auditing tool can be used to assess where your business is currently at. And this is a tool created by the Department for Small Business here in Queensland. And certainly there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of the session, if that's okay. Feel free to pop them up throughout. We might save them all and answer them towards the end of the session, if that's okay. But let's start with what a digital strategy is not. Just because you give your staff a computer doesn't mean you have a digital strategy, nor if you have a website doesn't mean you've got a digital strategy. Websites are just part of the mix. And the same thing with Facebook and social media. Social media like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn is just part of the social media, the digital strategy mix. Social is not the solution, just part of the solution, if that makes sense. So what does a digital strategy actually look like? Well, a digital strategy, by definition, is a strategy which provides direction on how to maximize the business benefits of digital initiatives in line with your business's vision, goals, and opportunities. It's essentially an extension of the business plan. So if you look at the graph just below there, you'll see that there's obviously the top layer, vision, mission, goals, values, and then the subsectors, finance, staff, marketing, operations, customers. You'll note that this is a kind of the generic framework for most business plans, and if you like, under each of the subsections there, finance, staff, marketing, operations, customers, you can then tie in some very, very specific digital components that help boost those particular sections. If you like, digital strategy is really a whole of business approach and a whole of business shift to a commitment to creating and ensuring that digital strategies and digital opportunities are pursued throughout the entire business. And this is kind of how it would be represented, if you like, from a business plan perspective. So for example, if we were to drill in on one of these core subsects, for instance, the finance section, moving to a digital transformation sector would be things like moving to a cloud-based accounting solutions, or taking and receiving orders online through like an e-commerce based website, that type of scenario, or moving in-field staff like sales staff that are outbound and to digital devices, giving them iPads, for instance, to take customer orders and collect customer information, collect payments and create invoices, if you like, on the run. So that's what I guess the concept of get digital or digital strategy could be potentially. If we look at, we'll actually do a first poll. I'll just load this up briefly here, and I'll give you a couple of seconds. Here we go. I'll give you a couple of seconds to answer this. We won't share the poll results throughout today's session, but we'll be able to provide them possibly at a later date. Do you have a digital strategy? Do you have a digital strategy for your business? Is the first poll question. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds to answer this poll. A digital strategy of any description, I would say 60% have completed. Okay, there we go. Fantastic. Thanks everyone for participating in the poll. So where are we at as a nation? And Deloitte, if you wanted to Google Deloitte Connected Small Business 2013, there's a fantastic report produced by Deloitte, which really exemplifies where we are at as a nation. And largely this digital uptake, if you like, of small business is quite low. If you look at some of these figures here, 16% of small businesses are making the most of the web with high digital engagement. 25% of small businesses have medium digital engagement. 24% of small businesses have low digital engagement. And then the big one here, 35% of small businesses have very low digital engagement or do not use the internet at all. I guess we if you look at that, 84% of the small business population here in this country are moderate to low or very low, non-existent users of technology and digital within their business. So I'd be interested to run another quick poll and ask yourselves, those listening today, how engaged is your business in the digital economy? And let me just quickly pull up this poll briefly. And again, we won't share these results. All right, here we go. That's live. Just give you a couple seconds to answer. Thank you. Fantastic. Okay, I think all those answers are in now. Much appreciated. Based on the national, what we're seeing at a national level, I think there's a huge opportunity for small businesses to improve, obviously, what they're doing in this digital space, and look for utilising these opportunities to really create positive economic growth within their individual businesses. But why do you need a digital strategy? And again, in the same report that Deloitte produced, businesses with higher levels of digital engagement have an average 20% increase in annual revenues, and the median revenue for businesses with low digital engagement is $87,500 per employee, compared to $187,500 per employee for businesses with a high digital engagement. There's a business here in Brisbane which produces safety screen doors, security screen doors, and the like, called Prowlerproof. And Prowlerproof has gone through 15 years of digital transformation and constantly reinventing and recreating their business model to encourage and uptake new digital tools. One of the things that they've found is that their BDMs, their business development managers, are 3 times more productive through the use of technology now. And how they've achieved that is through the use of an online ordering system. So moving their account managers and BDMs from order takers, collecting the order, and then processing the order, and the order might be taken via fax or via phone or email, moving them from that type of scenario through to getting the customers to utilize a web-based or desktop-based ordering system where they can place the order, put the order in, click save, and automatically be sent through to Prowlerproof for processing. So, and in this instance, they've actually found the efficiency gain to be that 15 minutes after the order is being presented, they can essentially start cutting that, put it onto the very first piece of equipment for the manufacturing process. But the real benefit is their BDMs can be outwardly finding more business and looking for more opportunities and so forth, as opposed to taking orders, because they've automated that process, if you like. And the other side of all of this is, as your customers become more tech savvy, their expectations for you and your business will also change at the same time. And all of a sudden, they'll start to expect that they'll be able to connect with you via social channels or via your website and have a similar level of experience with you and your business online as to what they would have offline. I think beyond anything, as we've just explained with the Prowlerproof example, the efficiency gains that technology can bring can often offset the cost to undertake the technology in the first place. And I think, if there's one thing which I leave with you this afternoon, it's a concept of efficiency gains that technology and digital can bring to a business. And I challenge you to think about that and what that might look like in your particular business. The efficiency side that technology and digital tools and opportunities can drive to small business is huge, and I think something that should be taken seriously. So what makes up a digital strategy? And this is the list that I was referring to earlier on of the integrated elements that make up a digital strategy. And these are online presence, which we'll talk about shortly, digital marketing, selling online, customer interaction, online security, supplier interaction, mobile-based solutions, efficiencies through technology, and cloud computing. So these are the 9 elements, if you like, that make up a digital strategy. And you can probably start to pick where some of these might fit within a business plan as such. But let's start just quickly with online presence. So online presence is anything that's publicly available that people can read and see about your business online. So typically it's going to be things like a website or social media pages or yellow pages online or review forums, sites like the Google ratings and so forth. It's important to ensure that all your digital channels are frequently updated. One of the key things, and I'll extrapolate on this in a moment, but one of the key things for search engine optimization, so search engine optimization is where your website is ranked in a Google search for keywords that apply to your particular business. Content and the high quality level of content created and posted on your website is one of the most critical components, if you like, of a positive search engine optimization strategy. And again, online presence as a whole, this would feed obviously directly into the marketing component of your business plan. So let's have a look at a couple of tips to help manage your online presence. You know, as I was alluding to, content is king. Producing fresh, interesting content for your website frequently is very, very critical. And the content needs to be created in a search-friendly, keyword-rich framework. So if people are typing in hairdresser Brisbane, your content would need to reflect the same types of keywords that people will be searching for you for your business. And if the content is of a rich nature, the second point here, the ability to share this information from customers or prospects that are entering your website will be quite high. For instance, if you're if you're in the business consulting space, content that you might produce for your website might have a very strong interest to potentially accountants or lawyers that are visiting your website. The likelihood of them sharing that information, if it's of relevance to them, with their peers on sites like LinkedIn or Twitter or even Facebook to a degree is very high, and it's something that you want. And that last point there, and I guess this is more of what we look for when a customer goes to the website, and when they come to our website in the first instance, whether it's a customer or whether it's a prospect, we really want them to either download some free information, and the free information might be showing and proving to a prospect that you are the industry experts in your particular sector. And obviously in exchange for downloading some information, we would be looking to try and get some contact information for this customer. We want them to either connect with you and your business on social media, and this could be by LinkedIn, it could be via Twitter, it could be Facebook, depending on the type of business that you operate. We want them obviously to inquire about you or your products via the website, and this might be either picking up the phone or sending an email or filling in an online form. But probably most importantly, we want them to purchase from you, and we want them to purchase from you either via the website or calling up and placing an order. So that's what you're kind of looking for when you're creating a digital asset, being a website or a Facebook page or a Yellow Pages online profile or Twitter profile in that scenario. If we push on, digital marketing is the next subsect of a digital strategy. Digital marketing refers to the promotion of your business online using banner ads, Google AdWords, social media ads like Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads, blogging, newsletters, etc. As the name suggests, digital marketing is a critical component of your marketing strategy. And what we're finding now in kind of the broader business sector is that more and more businesses are moving, some or in some cases, most of their marketing, annual marketing budgets to digital marketing initiatives. So we're seeing that businesses are more likely to put money and effort and exposure, if you like, into a digital framework as opposed to traditional forms of communications and advertising. So how would we go about driving your marketing dollars harder? Well, there's a few things that I'd be suggesting to you that you might want to consider. The first one here is critical. Understanding your customers, and understanding your customers as to what they're searching in Google or what they're clicking on to get to your website online. I think once you know the process that a customer goes through or a prospect goes through to get to your website, reverse engineering that to create marketing campaigns to target that customer becomes very, very easy, or a bit easier, I should say. Google Analytics, if you haven't seen it, is absolutely sensational in this regard because it gives you a rich insights to show what pages a customer has visited or search terms that a customer has typed in to get to your website. If Google Analytics, I'm sure if you've got a web developer that you might be using, it might be worthwhile just cross-checking with them and confirming that you have got Google Analytics installed into your website. It's quite an easy process to install that. The second point there is a concept of testing and measuring. And I mean, you wouldn't speak to too many marketing people that wouldn't recommend testing and measuring your advertising and your online marketing and so forth. Testing and measuring obviously is to assess the ROI that you're achieving from the communications and the marketing that you're doing. And typically this is done via pay-per-click advertising. So for instance, Google AdWords. And Google AdWords, of course, if you wanted to learn more about it, you might want to check out business.qld.gov.au, which is the Queensland Business Industry Portal, and type in Google AdWords and you'll be able to find some information on SEM, which is search engine marketing in this instance, or pay-per-click advertising. One of the benefits of pay-per-click ads, or Google AdWords in this instance, is the ability to be able to run 2 ads at the same time and then split test those ads. So you can start to see which ad had the better return on investment of click-throughs through to your website. And then you can start to drill in more into those specific ads, and you can look at words that you're using in the ad, or the headline that you're using in the ad, or possibly even the sentence structure that you're using in the ad to replicate that for future advertising that you might want to do. And then that last point there, keep in touch. And keeping in touch with customers is one of the most critical things and one of the easiest things that technology and digital has allowed us to do. A customer that we've already got is better than a customer that you're trying to get. So a new customer in that instance. Looking for ways to connect with that customer after the experience, whether it be after they've bought something from you or whatever it might be, is very, very easy via email marketing in particular. And then the concept of remarketing, whereby if a customer's bought a green t-shirt, the likelihood of them buying a blue t-shirt is moderately high. If a customer's bought a pair of shoes, the likelihood of them buying some socks is quite high as an augmented purchase. The opportunity to remarket to them post their purchase from you in your business via email is quite high. For instance, you bought this, other customers who also bought this went on to buy this. Amazon, eBay has been doing this kind of concept of marketing for many, many years. If we go to the next subsect of digital strategy now, it's the concept of online selling. And online selling is a key component, if you like, of the of your operations area of a business plan. Online selling refers to the ability to take and receive orders for goods and services via the internet. And have the customer pay for it right there via a payment gateway. And we've seen this ridiculous sector growth. $12.6 billion was spent last year in online sales, which represented a 23% growth year on year. We've seen this huge rise, if you like, of people now happily accepting and prepared to put their credit card details in online to buy a good or service. And it's not just for B2C. It can be for B2B sales as well. It can also be part of an extended ordering system, like what I was talking about with Prowlerproof, for instance, before. They use an online-based B2B sales selling environment where a business customer can place an order via their website rather than faxing in their order or phoning in their order, which means that this asset or this digital tool becomes an integrated element within their entire business. But because it's from a digital perspective, and we're not having to have to manually enter data into a processing system that you might use within your business, there's the opportunity to build tools that automatically connect these two together. So when the order comes in, it's automatically sent through to the very first part of the manufacturing line, or through to the first logistic step for picking off the shelves, or whatever the process is internally, whatever your business type is. There's certainly opportunity for that. I think one of the best examples though of online selling is a brand which I'm sure you'd all know, Domino's Pizza, who are doing incredible things in this digital space. Now I know probably most of the businesses listening in today aren't of the size of Domino's, but I think there's a lot of learnings that we can draw from the scale and the size of businesses like Domino's Pizza. 50% of all Domino's customers come through one of their digital channels. And there's 6 different ways that you can purchase, being over the phone, walk-in, over the internet, via the desktop application, via the mobile application and the Facebook application. 4 of these 6 are digital channels that customers can buy from, so they can physically order their pizza whilst they're on Facebook or using the mobile application or the mobile website. But I think one of the interesting things here is that third point. 40% of all online orders now come via the smartphone application. So that is the customer downloading the Domino's application, putting in their information, adding their credit card details, selecting the pizza that they want to buy, pressing order, and either going down and picking it up or getting it delivered to their house. So 40% of all of their 50% of online sales and orders for pizza is coming from mobile phones. And this is, I think, a bit of a snapshot as to what we'll expect in the future. There's no doubting that mobiles and mobility is becoming more and more widespread, particularly now as smartphones become more and more acceptable and of a lower cost. As this starts to happen more and more, we'll start to see more and more an increase, if you like, in smartphone sales or people buying via their mobile phone. So some of the things you might want to consider if you are looking down the online sales route. Treat it like any other sales channel. So the concept of channel development is critical. You need to go and focus on things like who's going to staff it, how are you going to manage the logistics, how are you going to promote it and market this channel, how's it going to be reconciled, how are you going to deal with returns. Like you would any other channel. Think of online sales as being a similar type of scenario to setting up a new retail store. If you were going and setting up a new retail store in Mackay or in Townsville or in Gladstone or wherever you might be, the process that you would go through to set up that sales channel is exactly the same process that you would go through, just slightly modified from an online perspective. And then that second point there, as we were just talking about with Domino's, the concept of thinking mobile and I guess, understanding that more and more customers are starting to utilize and buy using their mobile phone or tablet. And you maybe even consider making this part of your process. And one of the things with this, and it ties back into your online presence, is ensuring that your website is mobile optimized. It'd be really interesting, and I suggest that if you do have Google Analytics currently running on your website, to maybe draw in and have a look at some of the data coming through around the types of devices that people are using to access your website. Some of the clients that we work with, they're experiencing, 40 to 60% of their customers coming to their website off a mobile phone. If the customer isn't having a similar or better experience with your business using their mobile phone as they would if they were in front of a computer, it shows that you're not taking that customer as serious, if you like. And I think the opportunity there is to really ensure that those websites that you're creating is mobile optimized as best it possibly can be. And then that final point there, one thing that online selling provides us is the ability to be able to access and sell without borders. So it takes down the geographic borders of a fixed retail store, for instance, or a market store, whatever it might be, and all of a sudden we can start looking at our neighbours overseas, like for instance in New Zealand or Asia, and look for ways to ensure that they have a seamless experience with your website as well. So for instance, it might be creating your website .co.nz for New Zealand, or .co.hk for Hong Kong, or .com.cn for China, creating subsets of your website, and possibly even going to the level of having your website translated into Mandarin for the China market, those types of scenarios. And this is one of the benefits, I guess, of online selling, is it does reduce those geographical borders in which we're marketing and promoting in. Let's go to another quick poll. So this is broken into two different sections, and we'll run these polls individually. So the first part of it is, are you currently selling online? So I'm just going to quickly open up this poll now. Yep. And okay, that should be live. I'll just get you to quickly answer that poll if that's okay. And then once we've done that, we'll look at the second part of the poll. Okay, 100%. All right, perfect. That's great. And now I'll just quickly launch this second poll. If not, could be. Yep. Okay, there we go. So for those that answered no in the first one, could you potentially be selling online? Fantastic. Wow, 100%. 100% of people have said that yes, they could potentially be selling online. And I think, it's really important not to think that online sales is just B2C, business to consumer. It can be B2B, business to business. There's lots of examples and case studies where it's been used successfully. So let's move on, ladies and gents. Let's move on to customer interaction. And customer interaction is the next section, if you like, of the digital strategy. As the name suggests, customer interaction is about ensuring that customers are serviced by all digital channels. For instance, if a customer was to get onto the website and try and find out information about your product or get in contact with someone or fill out an inquiry form, they can, but at the same time, they might be able to have a similar experience if they visit you on your Facebook page or on your Twitter page or on your LinkedIn page, or they might even have a similar experience if they visit you via your mobile website as such. I think one of the key things with this is underpinning everything that you do online with a strong CRM, meaning that if someone fills in a form on your website, all their customer information is being pushed into a CRM for future follow-up. And obviously customer interaction is again a big component of your marketing and sales parts of your business plan as such. So some things that you might want to consider, and as I was alluding, the concept of having a strong CRM, and CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management Tool, it is critical, and I think it really provides you with the utility to be able to capture customer information and prospect information in real time via your website for future reporting by your sales staff. And then the second point there, think social. More often than not, customers are turning to the likes of Facebook or Twitter to ask questions and interact with you in your business. In the case of Telstra now provides Facebook, if you like, and Twitter as a legitimate customer service solution whereby customers can go in and ask questions of Telstra's customer service representatives in Facebook and get real-time support, real-time help, if you like, from them via the Facebook channel. And I challenge you to think, particularly if you're in a B2C, in more of an FMCG, a fast-moving consumer good type space, if there is opportunity for you to consider creating a customer service layer, if you like, within Facebook or Twitter. And then that final point there, look online to try and automate and short circuit the need for a customer to have to call up and ask one of your customer service or sales staff, questions about a product or a service that they might be buying or have bought already from you. Things like having a detailed and easy to find FAQ section on the website, or maybe even a moderated support forum where customers can help solve other customers' issues and queries and questions about your particular product. And then probably something which is becoming more and more mainstream now is the concept of online chat, which you might see like a little box that pops up at the bottom that says, would you like to ask a question now? And that feeds directly into someone either working from your office or remotely to answer some basic questions about the product. If we move on, online security is the next element of a digital strategy. And online security is absolutely critical. You walk out your office door or your showroom door of an afternoon and you lock the office and you turn the alarm on, you switch the lights off or you switch the lights on in some retail cases, and you take these security measures to protect your office. The same thing should apply to protecting your data and your information that you're creating within your business. In many instances, your data is an asset to your business. It's part of your IP. And it really should be treated with the same level of security care that you would treat your business as such, and safeguard it wherever possible. Things like data backup and policies for staff and SSL certificates, secure socket layer certificates. And then the concept of BYOD policies, which I'll explain in a second. BYOD stands for bring your own device. I'll explain this in a moment. The policies for staff. I think all of online security comes under the legal and operational components of your business plan, and it really should be taken quite seriously. Things you should consider is planning for it. You really need to have a data protection strategy and plan in place, and this might be both physical, so on-site, and off-site. On-site being where the data is saved to a hard drive locally and backed up daily. It probably would be like one of the little external hard drives, or it might also be off-site backups, being that the data is shared to a cloud-based environment every afternoon or every night at 11:33 p.m, that type of scenario where the data is automatically sent from your server locally to a server in the cloud, just again for security measures and security backups. The concept of bring your own device, or BYOD, is becoming more and more mainstream And you might want to even consider creating a BYOD policy. What bring your own device is it's becoming quite a key trend, if you like, in this medium to large sector, if you like, in Australia. What it does is it encourages or provides a framework for staff to be able to bring their own device, like their laptop computer or their smartphone or their iPad or Android tablet device, and utilize that as part of their day-to-day activity within your office. One of the things that needs to be considered if you're going down this path, and the benefit of it obviously is that you get access to, as a business owner or manager, typically the latest and greatest technology. On average, a consumer customer will change their equipment every 12 to 18 months, whereas a business customer will typically change their equipment every 2 years to 3 years. So you get typically access to newer technology at obviously no capital expense to the business. The drawback of this is obviously, though, that if they're saving data, and particularly sensitive business data, locally onto their device, what happens if the device gets stolen or dies and they lose some of the information? What happens if this is business critical information? So there needs to be strong processes and procedures in place to ensure that if they were to use their own private devices, that there's a data backup or data security measures in place. And that would come through a BYOD policy. The final point there is a consideration to move to the cloud, and we're seeing more and more small businesses, as the clouds become more and more accessible and lower cost. We're starting to see that you can quite easily move to a cloud-based environment and at a very similar or much lower cost to what you would expect from having fixed infrastructure in your office, like buying the computers and buying the servers and so forth. One of the benefits of moving to a cloud is you typically get hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment and security, all for one monthly set fee per employee. So spreading that risk and that cost out over an annual 2-year or 12-month period, which is quite beneficial. And then I guess one of the other things is a lot of these cloud providers offer 99.9% secure and uptime. So, particularly if you look at reputable cloud solutions providers. If we just move on to the next component, which is supplier interaction. And supplier interaction refers to the ability to be able to source globally and nationally from suppliers. Supplier interaction is a key part of the supply chain process, and it really does allow you to look offshore as well as domestically for best uses and best providers of various products that you require for your particular business. And this is certainly an operational component of your business plan. So things you might want to consider is the ability to think globally, and online has enabled us to do this. All of a sudden, we can source quotes from America, from South America, from New Zealand, very, very quickly from suppliers that supply parts or pieces of the process that you require in Australia. The other side of all of this is you can pay instantly. So you can pay using solutions like e-commerce or PayPal to pay instantly for the goods, rather than having to have to wire money to an offshore country, to an offshore bank account or company. And then that last component there is the concept of auto reorders. We're starting to see momentum build, if you like, from a business's perspective to utilize cloud-based accounting software and ERPs, which is enterprise resource planning software, which has in many instances auto reorder capacities to it, which means that it has the intelligence to look at sales sales flow and past sales, historical sales figures and so forth for particular goods, and then automate or create a proposed reorder quantity based on that historical sales figures and sales processes that's gone through for that particular product, and can automatically, if in some instances, reorder that product when it gets to a set level. Let's move on to the next component of the digital strategy mix, and it's mobility and mobile-based solutions. Australians are the second largest group of smartphone and tablet users in the world, and really mobility offers you a huge ability and opportunity for your employees and customers to be able to connect with your business via their portable device, and it might be via a mobile website or a custom mobile application, or even just using a mobile commerce type scenario where they're physically paying for it. But I think one of the real opportunities that exists here is for businesses to consider replacing some of the manual paper-based solutions and paper-based systems that they're using internally to as part of a standardized business process, and moving these systems to potentially electronic formats and so forth. So, for instance, imagine you're or you run a valuation company and you value houses and so forth. Maybe one of the traditional business processes that you're doing throughout your business is physically going out onto location into houses with a notepad and pen or duplicate or triplicate paper. The opportunity, I guess, exists is to take potentially an iPad or an iPhone or an Android tablet into these types of scenarios and use maybe either a custom application that you've created or like a spreadsheet via the iPad or the Android tablet itself to collect information on the property that you're inspecting, you're valuing. Now, there's a huge opportunity in terms of the time saving that you can look to try and achieve through this. You might save 20 minutes or 30 minutes per transaction as opposed to going back to your computer and re-entering all the data that you're collecting into like Excel or a custom proprietary piece of software. So some things you might want to consider, the difference between mobile apps, mobile commerce, and websites. So mobile apps are applications that are developed to run on the handset or the device itself. So it's like, for instance, you install Microsoft Word on your computer. A mobile application is where you install a physical application onto your device itself. Mobile websites are a scaled back, responsive version of your website that looks and functions correctly on a mobile phone or a tablet device. And then that last point, that mobile commerce is the ability to be able to pay for goods and services utilizing your mobile phone. And then that second point, business tools, more and more we're starting to see, and you might utilize some project management software or like Salesforce, which is a CRM tool. We're starting to see that these major software providers are creating mobile versions of the software that they create for the desktop computers, which means that if you've got sales teams, rather than them taking customer information on cards and pieces of paper and so forth out when they're out in the field, they can take them directly into your CRM via their iPad or via their mobile phone whilst they're away from the computer. And then that last point there, consider bespoke solutions. It might be a scenario whereby you want to recreate or automate a manual process that you're currently doing to be done via a tablet device or an iPhone or an iPad or an Android phone. Or it might be that you want to just simplify the way in which your sales staff are collecting orders and collecting leads and you connecting back into your office. And a lot of these things would be typically bespoke or custom solutions that would need to be built for you and for your business. The next part of a digital strategy is efficiencies that can be gained through technology. And there's a whole heap of different things that you might want to consider and that technology has provided us, which builds and boosts productivity internally. A couple of things that you might want to consider is things like moving to cloud-based accounting solutions. And I don't know whether we've got any trades-based businesses listening in today, but one of the key benefits of some of these cloud-based, for instance, accounting products, it means that, if you've got a fleet of plumbers, for instance, that work for you, or a group of electricians that work for you, you might actually want to consider moving to a cloud-based accounting product like Xero or FreshBooks, where they can download a mobile application which allows the staff to be able to create invoices whilst they're there on site with the customer, and send it via email from the customer, from their phone or from their iPad, right there and then. And then you might even want to consider looking at some technology like what Commonwealth Bank has produced called Pi, Commonwealth Bank's Pi or Leo, which is a physical shell that fits over your Android phone or your iPhone, turning your device into a mobile FPOS machine. So, for instance, a business process might be made more efficient through the use of a mobile phone as a utility to be able to create an invoice and send it to the customer, as well as taking payment right there, rather than a traditional process, which would be writing down the job on a piece of paper, maybe it's duplicate paper, giving one copy to the customer, calling back in from the car back to the office admin. The office admin then obviously popping all that information directly into your internal accounting system and creating an invoice and posting it out or emailing it out to the customer for payment, and then following up that customer in 7 days' time or in 14 days' time to ensure that payment is on its way or has been processed. One of the benefits of technology is you can almost shortcut that process and collect the money whilst you're there on site with the customer right there and then. Technology efficiency measures comes under the operational part of a business plan. Some things you might consider within this perspective would be the utilization of cloud tools. So tools like software as a service solutions. And software as a service is where you, rather than buying a piece of software, like you buy Microsoft Office or you buy MYOB each year for a set annual fee, software as a service solution is where you license the product over a period of over 12 months, over 2 years, and you pay a small monthly fee to have access to that product. So, for instance, project management tools like Basecamp, Zoho or Podio, or Salesforce or Harrise HQ as a CRM, or Xero or FreshBooks for cloud-based accounting. One of the benefits of moving to a cloud-based environment is that typically one cloud-based product will talk to another cloud-based product. So if a customer or a prospect is added into, for instance, Salesforce or Harrise HQ, that customer information can be automatically pushed across to Xero, which is a cloud-based accounting software. So you're not having to have to re-enter information constantly. The second point there, the consideration of a mobile environment, I can't stress enough that mobile is becoming more and more accessible and easy, and it really does provide some strong opportunities to replace standard traditional paper-based systems with some automated systems utilizing mobile devices and create efficiencies through reducing the process time to physically undertake that business process. And then the last point there, cloud hardware. Consider, rather than buying physical hardware like laptops and PCs and server infrastructure and licensing software, you can then move to a cloud-based scenario where you pay a monthly fee, and incorporated in that monthly fee is all your licensing software costs, all your hardware costs, your security costs, and your data, like your storage, like your server costs and so forth, wrapped up in a one monthly fee. So rather than paying an annual fee for buying capital costs for buying new equipment and so forth, you pay a monthly fee or operational expense for the ongoing use of that technology. And there's plenty of reputable cloud suppliers here in Queensland as well as across Australia. But what happens next? And I think this is probably the most important component in many ways, is understanding where your business currently is at. And I think it's really important that you put your business under the digital lens to understand where and how your business is performing. And the Department of Tourism Major Events, Small Business and the Commonwealth Games has created the framework for small business digital readiness audit tool. And the tool really gives you a snapshot, and I've just brought it up on the screen here, but the tool gives you a really good example, and hopefully you can see my mouse moving around now on the screen. It gives you a really good snapshot to be able to look at the novice area, or the medium or the digitally active area, or the advanced area, and what those characteristics would look like. So for instance, under online presence, a digital beginner, someone that's just putting their toes in the water from a digital perspective, would have at a basic level just a business website. A business that's consolidating or digitally active is a business that can take customer orders via their website and process payments online, or make changes to my website on a regular basis. And then one that's digitally advanced is one that has end-to-end online ordering, end-to-end delivery and fulfillment, and my website is automatically updated every day. And so you can then go in and tick which of the three you feel your business is in. And it gives you a good idea. If you're currently under the digital beginner stage, it gives you a good idea as to what you then should be considering to progress forward to the next level as such in this particular instance. Once you've done that, you can then start to create an action plan. The action plan steps out the processes that you need to do once you've assessed where you're at in your business from that particular element. It gives you a list of things that you should potentially consider doing to progress and move forward from that particular area. So for instance, after you've done the audit, you probably then want to go through a research phase, and the research phase would be looking for best practice cases of other businesses in your industry and similar industries that are utilizing technology to create efficiencies and generate extra income and so forth. Research what other options are available to you, and I guess in this instance, you'd probably go back to your web developers and your web designers and your marketing, consultants and business coaches and anyone else that you're interacting with, to kind of get a broader understanding as to what digital evolution could look like for your particular business. And the third step there is an action list, and the action list is this list under here, the critical task list. And what this does is it steps out and breaks down each element that you need to achieve. So if you're going through the digital transformation perspective of an online presence and you're wanting to increase the website's capacity, you'd create an action list of elements that you need to do and what needs to be achieved to ensure that you reach your goal. And then that last point there is defining what success would look like. And I always think this is a really good way of being able to see or knowing that when you're successful in this particular area. And defining what success would look like would be something like, for instance, generating $1,000 a week in online sales, that type of scenario. That's what you'll be successful in this particular area when you're achieving $1,000 a week in online sales. Now we're nearly at the tail end of today, ladies and gents. So as a quick summary, digital strategy is much more than a social media strategy, websites, and buying staff iPads. I think I've proved today, and I've shown you that a digital strategy really is quite an integrated process, and there's lots of different elements that make up the digital strategy. And it's certainly a lot more than just having a Facebook page or just having a website or just investing in iPads and mobile phones for your staff. I think it's a full business strategy and full business solution that you need to be looking at to create those productivity and efficiency gains in your business. That second point there, a digital strategy should be an integral part of your business plan. And I think if you go back to that first graph that I think I showed you, which broke down the business plan or the core elements of a business plan, have a look at that and look back at your business plan and understand what could be potentially digitized from what you're currently doing right now in your business plan to what it could be in 12 months' time. And then the third point there, look at each area of your business plan and assess how you can achieve efficiency gains through the use of technology and software. There's plenty of examples that you can find online about businesses that have just done exactly that. The audit process for your business is really, really important to understand where you're at. And I really do suggest that you spend some time going through each of the elements of a digital strategy and connecting it back against the digital audit tool to understand exactly where your business is at. And then understand where your competitors are at from a digital perspective as well, because this will give you a really good understanding as to the experience that your customers might have if they go to one of your competitors. And you need to think as well, what are your customers going to be doing and expecting from you in the next 2, 5, and 10 years? Are they expecting from you that they don't have to call up to place an order, that they can automatically create an order via your website? Are they expecting that you'll hold their account details in a safe environment with their credit card and automatically charge their credit card for a certain amount of money at a period of time in the future and automatically dispatch your product to them? You really need to be preparing for this and thinking about what your customer could look like in the future to almost future-proof your business from the outset. And then that last point there, create an action plan. So once you've done the audit, once you've understood where your business is at, go back through everything and really understand what the steps could be to really take that next step in digital evolution. Now, we've sent yesterday out the workbook via email, and I think there's been a few more people that have registered overnight. So I will send out another version of the email just with a link to the workbook. I do recommend that you spend some time going through the workbook in detail, because there's a lot more information in there around facilitating and conducting the digital audit, as well as the action plan, and certainly everything that we've covered off. There's more case studies and examples and so forth in there. Ladies and gents, thank you again for joining us. Before you log off, though, I'm just about to quickly hit share on the chat section here. There we go. I've shared with you all a link to one of the SurveyMonkey websites, which allows you to quickly do just a quick survey on your experience today, and certainly encourage you to do that quickly before you log off. Please do that now. It's on its way over to you as we speak. Thank you again for joining us. On behalf of the Department of Tourism, Major Events, Small Business and the Commonwealth Games, hope you have a fantastic day and enjoy the rest of your afternoon today. Many thanks. Cheers.